Welcome to the Music Production Podcast. This is your host, Brian Funk. I make music as AfroDJMac. Very excited today because I have the chance to talk to Sam Gribben, the CEO and founder of Melodics. How you doing, Sam? Thanks for taking the time.
Very, very good. How are you?
Excellent. I'm very good. And congratulations to you, too. It's a big time for Melodics right now.
Yeah, thank you. It has been quite an epic month or year, really, with the launch of version 2 and releasing lessons for keyboards. Not so long ago, adding electronic drums as well. So a lot has changed recently.
Yeah, the platform has really grown. Just so you and everyone else knows, I've been using Melodics. I think I'm in 16th grade right now on the finger drumming.
That's a lot better than me.
Well, I'm no wizard yet, but it's really helped me a lot. It's improved, and truthfully, I think it's improved my overall timing in music to begin with, and my performance. I use the push too, so that's like my finger drumming tool of choice, and I'm feeling better at the melodic pads as a result of that.
I mean, we hear that quite a bit. I mean, before we had lessons for keys, people were saying that using Melodics on pads had helped them play keys and play piano, just with timing being tighter in general.
Yeah. I mean, it's not too often these days that I sit down with, say, a metronome and try to get everything just right. So you guys have managed to make that a fun thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've used it a lot with the finger drumming, and I've just gotten a chance to use the keys. And for me, that's really exciting because I'm a guitar player, really, at heart. And the piano has always been kind of like, something I've wanted to learn. And especially, once I got into electronic music and synthesizers, it's always been like, just like kind of looking in the window from outside.
Right.
So I already passed my first course on the keys platform.
Nice.
The triads, very simple stuff.
Cool.
And a little humbling, to be honest, at first.
Oh, good. I mean, that's what you want,
Yeah.
Like, I think you make real progress when it's not so hard that you just get frustrated and give up, but it's not so easy that you can just walk through it. That's where you actually learn.
Yeah, that's the fine line, and I guess that's the same for anything, really. Working out, you can't just lift 5-pound weights. You got to push yourself a little.
Yeah,
but you can't go right to 500 either.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's something that we're quite mindful of. Is I think one of the things that we do with Melodics, we certainly try to do, is help people find that right level. And there's this concept of the learning edge, I believe it's called, where this idea of kind of bouncing just a little bit back and forward between, that was easy and that was a little bit too hard, and just kind of keeping people at that point of being really challenged. We do a bit of that, and that's certainly something that we're planning on extending next year, is helping people kind of get into that zone.
Yeah, and you've done a nice thing with the kind of grade levels, and sort of you have to have like at least, you unlock things.
Yeah.
Which I think also helps with the whole kind of reward center of the brain. Like, all right, I got to, 8th grade now, and I can try some of this new stuff out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, we've done a lot of research into this kind of area of science and technology called motivational mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
And we want it to be a serious tool. We don't want it to come across too much like a game. But I do find, from my own personal experience, I find practicing a little bit hard. It's hard to be motivated, and having it guided and these kind of, giving people a real sense of achievement and a sense of progress really helps to be motivated and to lock it into a habit, something that you can just do every day.
Right.
And that's where you start to really make progress. Our whole message is just do 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes each day is so much better than, sitting down for 4 hours, even every couple of weeks. You can just do a little bit. Your practice each day builds on what you did the previous day.
Right. And that's a big thing that kept me motivated as I'm going through it is, I need to make sure I get my 5 minutes, 3 times a week. And then it was like a certain number of days in a row. And it keeps you coming back.
Mm.
and that keeps you working. And I didn't make the connection until you just said that, but I've been thinking a lot about what's the most important lesson I can teach my students, whether it's music production, whether it's my high school English teaching. And what I've been saying I did a podcast on it just recently, but I also say it to my students is, if you can leave here with one thing, it's that all big things are lots of little things put together.
Yeah.
So like you say, the 5 minutes here every day
Hmm.
that builds up real fast over time.
Yes, exactly. I mean, when I'm telling people what we do, I describe melodics kind of first and foremost as software to help people learn to play musical instruments. But beyond that, it is also very much about helping people to get into the habit of practicing.
Hmm.
And that's really what we want to try and help people do, is kind of get into the zone where they can practice every day. Our whole company is based on this fundamental theory that if you practice, you'll get better, and if you don't practice, you won't. And so far, no one's really come and said, "Oh no, I don't know if that's really right." So it seems to be a kind of universal truth. So the kind of higher mission is to help people get into this habit of practicing, and we're just a tool to help make that happen.
Right.
And then the next step for us is once you're in that zone of practicing regularly, is helping to make each practice session as efficient as possible. So that's something we're really going to be looking at next year and in the future, is more guidance of what you should work on. At the moment, it's pretty much go and choose what you want. There's some recommendations, there's a little bit, you can favorite things, you can go through courses, but the more we can learn about how you're playing and what you're struggling with, and help you put together a practice routine that really fits for you. There's a lot of really interesting research into how people practice across all sorts of disciplines. Sport, there's a lot of money behind it in sport, but a lot of the ideas are transferable about this kind of like deliberate practice or deep practice. So that's something that we're really excited about helping musicians to do. So your 5 minutes a day is more valuable than 20 minutes of kind of just regular unguided practice.
Right. So it's very focused and deliberate that
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
you're progressing with those 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like the motivation through achieving the new levels again, like brings you that kind of, I've made it somewhere. I,
Hmm.
I'm curious how you guys decide what qualifies you to say move up to the next grade. As far as like, are there specific like musical concepts that you're trying to teach? Is it rhythmic stuff? Because I noticed like you
Yeah.
get more syncopated notes here and there as you move forward.
Well, last summer, and we're in the Southern Hemisphere, so that was like this time last year, we did a big review of all of the content that we had. And we kind of overhauled the tagging system. All lessons are tagged with, syncopation, hand independence, all these different parameters, and really narrowed that down to a set that we wanted to define what they meant, and apply more consistently so that each lesson would be like categorized better, and then regraded them all so that there's a lot more of a sequence, that the grades were a little bit all over the place. And the grading is done by a combination of musicians looking at them and using their experience and comparing one lesson to another. But also, we've got data on the pass rates of various lessons. So we can look at a lesson and be like, this one's grade 6. Everyone who plays it is failing it. It looks like it should be more like a grade 7 or even a grade 8. And so that helped us to really put them much more in order. And then the other thing we got to kind of balance is how quickly you should move up through the levels. At the moment, the way we're looking at it is that you can unlock content that's too hard for you.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're trying to figure out is to do people tend to like play the hardest stuff that they can play, or do they like to go back and just finish everything, get everything perfect?
Right.
And really what we've discovered is that there are different types of people who are motivated by different things. You know, there's this term in like game design, like computer games, called the completionist. You know, the person that wants to go back and like get perfect on every level. And
I live with one of those.
Yeah.
My wife is playing The Legend of Zelda, and she's trying to get every single thing in the new Zelda game.
Yeah, likewise.
She thinks everyone that's not doing that is like a faker.
Yeah, exactly. And then there are other people who want to just like get the best score in the hardest lesson they can. And so then, you know, that kind of comes back to what motivates people, and we want to accommodate like the different ways that people are motivated. So, you know, for the completionists out there, we want to give better view of like, what have you got left to do? Anything that helps form these habits around practice, you know, that's our goal. And so then the next challenge really is having the right amount of content, like, and stuff that you need to do to go up between grades. And that's something that we're always kind of tweaking. In the new version, we changed the level system. It used to be this kind of fairly obscure points system that no one could really see. People didn't really understand what they needed to do in order to level up. And then we had like, you could level up through points or completing these challenges. It's just, we felt it wasn't quite clear enough and it wasn't quite right. So now it's much simpler. You collect stars, you know, and to go from level 9 to level 10, you might need 50 stars, which means you just need to go and complete lessons. It's really straightforward.
Yeah.
We took away the challenge system temporarily, and we're going to replace it with, instead of like needing to complete challenges to level up, each time you level up, you unlock new challenges that you can do.
Okay.
So, I mean, that all works to keep it interesting and, again, keep people motivated to keep practicing and keep working.
Right. I kind of have a memory here of trying to get, I think, like 200 streak in a row, you know, with the finger drumming, and getting to like 195, and then the nerves kick in.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I don't know how to do anything anymore. And it's just, boom, your brain attacks. And
yeah, exactly.
And that was tough. So it's more of like just collecting the stars now.
Yeah, collecting the stars. I mean, there'll still be challenges like get a 200 streak. But we're kind of separating that from the leveling. You know, the leveling should be about what you need to complete to go up to the next grade.
Mm-hmm.
And the challenges will be like things that you can collect along the way.
Very nice. And that keeps it fun, and it's I guess, you know, it's nice how you talk about the different styles of players, the ones that want to get, you know, sometimes I'm just trying to get through it. Can I just complete the song? And sometimes it's like, no, let me go back and get it perfect on everything.
Yeah, I mean, I find it's really nice to take a lesson that you were struggling with a few months ago and go back and play it, and just, you know, not always, but in a lot of cases, you find the muscle memory still there, and something that you worked really hard on some time ago just comes easy, and you're like, oh, I actually really learned that.
Yeah. Well, I found it has helped me a lot with, I guess, keeping my independence between my two hands. Able to do one thing with one hand and, you know, maybe hold a steady beat with my right hand.
Yeah.
And that's just repetition, muscle memory, like you said. But it translates in a lot of things. And like I said, I feel like my real world drumming, which is minimal, has improved from that, just timing wise, just paying attention to the time.
I mean, I think drummers know, I'm not a drummer myself, but a couple of the people here are that limb independence for drumming, or with finger drumming, hand or even finger independence is like one of the big breakthroughs or blockers. You know, like you can only get so far before you really crack that. And once you got it, it unlocks a whole lot of new possibilities.
Yeah.
You know, that is like, you know, holding a constant hi-hat and then playing, you know, a kick and a snare that's on the beat and then sometimes off the beat of the hi-hat. You know, that's something I really struggled with for quite a long time. And there's there's no magic bullet. There's no way of like just quickly getting that. You just got to kind of plug away at it.
I can literally remember the day where I sort of unlocked that in my drumming.
Yeah,
I was playing a Weezer song off of the Pinkerton album, in which they have independent kick drums from the snares and the hi hats, and one day it just happened, and then you could
yeah,
just do it. It's pretty amazing.
yeah.
So you said you do a lot of research into like game theory, learning, and how we actually the mechanics of learning.
Yes.
Um, and somebody, I'm curious if you're familiar with Jay McGonigal, her work.
Yes.
She's a lot of game theory, and one of the big things she's gone into is the study of how gaming can help us with things like post-traumatic stress disorders.
Yeah.
And is she someone that's been a part of your studies?
I read a lot of what she writes and follow her on Twitter and that sort of thing. So yeah, I guess you could say she has certainly influenced our direction.
Yeah, because it's something we actually use with our students to talk about learning. One of the big things I'm trying to do with my students is learn how to learn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the idea that even like gaming, which as I was a kid, was like, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. And now there are people, experts in fields and scientists coming out and saying, no, this is actually good for you.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like, haha, mom and dad.
Exactly. I mean, that's something. I mean, I think I said earlier, we're always trying to get that balance right between using those techniques in a way that's really useful for a musician to help motivate, help you really improve, but not make it feel like a game. Make it feel like you're not just kind of wasting your time
Right.
playing a game. But I think that one of the best bits of feedback we ever got right near the beginning, it's really stuck in my head, is like, this is great. I really love it. It feels like I'm playing a game. I mean, I'm having fun doing it, but I'm actually learning something that I'm then taking into my production and applying like immediately.
Yeah. Well, I think you've managed to take the fun aspect of the game and meld it with the work aspect of practicing and the
Yeah.
discipline. And I think,
Yeah. I mean, that's the point for us. We don't try to make the claim anything like Melodics will have you being a musician within 21 days, or it's the easiest way or the fastest way to learn. We stay away from that kind of claim or that kind of language, because it's not easy to learn to play an instrument. It's actually pretty hard. But I think that there's this kind of conception or this idea that you plug it away at it for months and months and months, or years and years and years, and then just suddenly you kind of pop out the other side and you're a musician.
yeah.
And I just don't think it's like that. I think you get better every day. I know people who are absolute masters, and they talk about how important practice is. So rather than it's the easiest or fastest way, we're saying, no, it'll still take time, but what we can offer is that you'll actually enjoy it. You'll have fun as you're doing it, and you'll get a real sense of how you're progressing. You'll get that really clear feeling that, this week I can do something that I couldn't do before, and I can go into the studio and actually use it. Like I can actually apply what I've learned. I can write beats faster because I can now play it in rather than using the mouse or a step sequencer. I can get a more organic feel because I've got a bit of variation in how I play, and all of these other things that are like actually useful.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point and smart decision as a company, because there is so much of this stuff out there. Everyone's, hacking the system. Everyone's got the easy, quick, fast fix. And then when you get down to it and you try it yourself and you realize, hey, this is hard, that can be really discouraging
Yeah.
because, hey, I thought this was the easy way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I find in a lot of beginners that really whatever it is, and in myself too, if you're told this is going to be easy and it's not, it makes you question yourself, and that can lead to frustration. But the kind of honest truth that it is hard, and it gives it a certain value too when you do progress.
Exactly. And I mean, and that's where I think it's so important that if we can successfully convey that, give you this feeling of progress. That's what keeps you going. Like I remember when we first started out, and this was all just an idea. I have an old friend who, in his youth, was a pro skater, and he talked about the first time he landed an ollie, and how great he felt. He's like, yeah, I did it, And then the first time he landed a 720 flip on a half pipe, which is so much more difficult.
Right.
But he said, the feeling wasn't different between those two things. Each one is like, I'm working at this thing and I got it. And that's that feeling of real accomplishment. And so if we can keep giving people that feeling along the way, then you go, you're putting in work and you're getting somewhere. It's not just a quick fix.
Right. And how unfortunate would it be if landing that first ollie was kind of like, that's easy.
Yeah.
Everyone can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
It might suck the steam.
I won't be satisfied. I won't be satisfied until I do the 720.
Right. Yeah, but to have those little victories along the way is very important.
Yeah.
And to understand that it's about hard work, but you start to see the payoff. So those rewards are huge.
Yeah.
And it's nice that you can compare that to something like skateboarding, which, on the surface at least, has nothing to do with music production whatsoever. Yeah. Yet that skill, that concept translates very nicely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested in the parallels between learning music, and within learning music, there's so much to it. We're just focused on the playing an instrument part, but if you look at making music, there's composition and arrangement and sound design and recording and engineering and all these different things. But in learning to play an instrument, I'm really interested in the parallels between that and skating or sport or learning a language. I think learning a language is a really good reference, because you don't start learning a language and then work at it, and then just one day you're fluent. You just every day you learn a little bit more, and first it's like, can I have 2 beers, please? It's the first thing I can say, and then gradually you can say more and more, and then you can have a conversation, and then you can maybe read something, and then you can go to a film, and each of these stages is like it's getting better, and that's what we want to bring to learning to play an instrument. Is this feeling of like, yeah, I'm heading in the right direction. If I keep working at this, I will just get better and better.
Yeah, it's a great point. You're not, this idea of fluency, what does that really mean? It's like a finish line or something.
Yeah.
And you hear people a lot of times, like when they try something out, whether it's that or playing an instrument or something, they'll say, I'm just not good at that. And it's like, well, how long have you been doing it? Well, I took lessons for 2 months and I wasn't good at guitar. It's like, well,
yeah.
If you had that same mindset as a toddler, you'd still be crawling around on the ground.
Yeah.
And like if you watch a toddler even just walk, they're at one time they're just holding themselves up. They're falling on their butt all day long.
Yeah, and likewise, you can speak to a great guitarist who might be like, yeah, I'm not good at this part of it now. Mm-hmm. This is the part I want to work on. And you'd be like, are you kidding? You're amazing. Oh, yeah, no, I've got that stuff down, but now I want to work on this. And that, like you say, with music, there is no finish line. With production or playing, playing is just one part of it, as I said. With production, there's always more. Mm. There's always the next thing that you want to get into or you want to understand.
Oh yeah, and the way the technology changes and grows too. Forget it.
Yeah,
it's at lightning speed.
Yeah,
I like the work of Carol Dweck, who talks about the fixed mindset and the growth mindset, and this idea that maybe you're not good at that yet. Right now you're not, but that's yet is an important word in that it says, you understand you have the ability to grow and evolve.
Yeah, and exactly.
In melodics, you pass those first grade lessons and you're like, okay, now I'm here. And it gives you that, like, if you get your perfect, you get your exciting pun at the end, best thing synth sliced bread or something like that.
Yeah, we love our puns. There's a little bit of New Zealand humor coming through there for sure.
it's a nice reward though, you know, because sometimes those are very stressful moments and you get that nice little relief and it kind of reminds you that, you know, you're doing what you got to do. And sometimes I think, you know, it's important to take your practice seriously, but not to the point where it's a complete uh, stress inducing event.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Well, I mean, I come from the world of making music software, I guess you could say, in a broad sense. I was the CEO of Serato before
Right.
this, and I was there 10 years. And we were building this very serious tool that had this dark interface and was covered in buttons and knobs and all sorts of things. And as a new user, it was completely intimidating and really steep learning curve. And worked with a lot with products like Ableton, and the industry is kind of dominated with these really hardcore, quite serious products. And we intentionally chose to take a different tone and to have a kind of personality in it that was quite light and encouraging, and like bright colors and kind of friendly language, or not too serious language, some jokes. But, when you're in it, we go back to that kind of dark pro audio vibe.
Right.
It's like that's the serious part. We
Can
kind of
be
got like the
intimidating.
serious part and then the fun part, like the bright colors around it. But then when you're in it, it's like, okay, now we're down to business. We try and make it, clear and as efficient as possible.
It's something I appreciate about Melodics is the design is very nice. It's very clear to see where, and it's really grown a lot too since I've been using it. A lot of nice changes. It's very fluid, and the way it even will show you how to kind of practice the part before you go in and work at it. It's got the fingers. It's real clear, and like you said, it's kind of refreshing. There's not a million buttons everywhere. There's not a zillion things to click on, and it's pretty intuitive at first glance. You watch it.
I mean, that's something we've worked at a lot. I mean, that's all from one person, really, Adam. Adam is our design lead, and he's really set the direction. Everything you see comes from his desk, and he's absolutely amazing. So that's helped us a lot. But for example, if you get Machina or Push or any kind of pad controller, get it out of the box, and then you plug it into the software that comes with it, or Ableton Live, Lite, or some sort of thing. It's like, where do you start? And how hard is it to get to the point where you're actually making music? In a lot of cases, for new people, they give up before they really get into it because it's just so damn hard to get started. So that was something we were very conscious of: is plug it in. Within 1 minute, you are musicking, you are making music, you're playing music, and there's no configuration of what sample goes, what the sample volume levels are or filters or anything. It's just like, we are here to help you get music out of your hands, and we're really focused on that part of it only. I mean, we have plans on adding more dimensions to it in the future, and things like effects would be really cool if we could help people learn to use them in a kind of a performance context. But we intentionally reduce the options, so you can you don't go down a rabbit hole of like setting up your sidechain compression and getting totally lost and missing the point. It's just like, all right, here you are. This is this track. This is how it sounds. We work with a producer, or either an artist that we work with, or one of our own producers, and they made it sound like this. Now learn how to play it.
Well, that's important, because I think in so many things today, the possibilities are overwhelming and endless. It's so easy to get stuck just searching through your 9,000 kick drum samples. And never make music. And it's.
I mean, I enjoy making music with my friends. It's not something I would say I'm amazing at or even very good at, but it's something I really like doing. And these days I really like doing it without a computer. I've got an MPC 1000 that I've had for I don't know how long. It'll make me sound old if I tell you how long I've had it. And I just really enjoy. I've got a decent number of kits in there, but nothing crazy. I really enjoy the limitations of it and just working within those limitations and not getting totally distracted on, all of the endless possibilities.
I think it allows you to really get to know something too.
Yeah.
As a guitarist, I've gone through the phases of, all kinds of pedals on the floor in front of myself. But recently I got into playing with a group and I decided I'm not even going to use any pedals. I might tuner pedal, because
Yeah.
that's kind of important. But
Yeah.
it surprised me how much of a world there was in just the tone knob of the guitar, the volume
Yeah.
knob. For my whole life, they were just always all the way up, as
Yeah.
loud as it goes and tone all the way up. And now I'm discovering I can get so much mileage out of the guitar with turning down the volume to reduce some of the distortion and the gain going into the amplifier, or rolling back the tone if I'm not playing as much of a lead part.
Yeah.
And as I've been playing 20 something years, and this is something new to me. Like you
Yeah.
said about like many musicians, I'm not good at this part. I realized, wow, I don't even know how to really manipulate the guitar, and I'm just running it through all these pedals to try to
Yeah.
like cover
Exactly.
that up, really.
Yeah. And I do have a terrible gear addiction, and working
It's
in the
hard not
industry
to.
doesn't help
Yeah.
that. It's like, if I get that drum machine and that synth, then finally I'll be able to actually go into my studio and make music. I think it's a trap that everyone can relate to.
That's an echo in my head permanently, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
It hasn't happened yet. I feel I'm close, though.
Exactly.
But going deep in one direction is definitely, I think, a good way to go.
Yeah, and that's kind of reflected in how we see melodics. It is not software to help you. It's not a product to help you create music or even perform music. It's really just focused on the training aspect. So like if you take melodics on pads, if you look at a product like Push or Machina, or like most of them, there's a ton of things that you can do with those products. We are totally focused on the pads, and where that came from was, I've worked with Ableton for a long time in my career, and I know them really well. And when Push first came out, there was a video, the kind of product launch video. And it's like, and you can do this. You can add, aux buses and mix things, and you can add tracks, and you can compress, and you can do effects, and you can do all this stuff. And it's like, that's cool. And you can play beats live on the pads. It's like, that's the part I want to learn how to do. How do I do that part? There's no tutorials. There are, but you're just watching someone, which is not a great way to learn. You can learn about all of those other kind of more production elements. I just want to focus on learning how to play the pads real time, live, if you will, like that. And so that's what I went back to them with, is like, we're making a product that is just on that part. And we're going to help people learn how to do finger drumming. Like at the time, it was massively popular in that there were tons of products with pads coming out, like all of the obvious ones, but then pads were on all of the MIDI keyboards, pads were on all the DJ controllers, like shoe point drumming in the world of DJing, which is kind of where I'm from, had become a real thing. The Red Bull 3 style DJ competition was dominated with people doing little kind of breakout routines on their Pioneer S9 or something. So pads were everywhere, but there were actually like very few people that could really do it, or very few resources for people that wanted to learn to do it. You could watch videos, but trying to learn finger drumming, watching someone else do it in a video, you can watch a Jeremy Ellis video all you like. It's not going to really help you.
It's
going, oh.
I don't think slow motion goes slow enough to pick up what he's actually doing.
And so, just be focused on that one aspect has been really great. We get a lot of requests for like, I want to take what I've made and then turn it into a beat. I want to do this and that. It's like, no, that's not what we do. Ableton's great for that. We're just here to help you learn to play this thing.
Well, then you find yourself in the old trap of just throwing things in to try to please everybody. The old saying, the surefire way to failure is to try to please everybody all the time. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why we chose the path that we did of starting with finger drumming and then going out to keys. Is with finger drumming, it's
a relatively small space. There's not that many pad controllers in the world compared to, say, MIDI keyboards. A lot of people said, why would you not just go for the MIDI keyboards? There's a lot more people. And it's because we could really spend time understanding who these people are, who want to do this, what do they want, what's useful to them, what's not useful to them, what's a distraction, and really refine what we were doing with a tight group and a tight community. And it's like, okay, we know who you are, we hear you, we've got good comms, and we can understand what you're asking for and deliver it, and then go on to like the bigger space of keys, feeling confident that we know what not to do and what to do.
Well, I think that's a cool thing about the way you guys are teaching keys is you seem to have an understanding of your audience. You're not teaching us how to play, say, like a Beethoven track or a track, I'm calling it. But
I don't know. Yeah, Beethoven track.
Yeah,
new
right?
track by Mozart.
Never thought of it that way. But it's like, you're playing the pad now. You're holding down you wouldn't do that on a piano.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if that's actually come out on our website or anything yet, but certainly a lot in our the way that we were talking about it internally was like, there will be no Debussy, there will be no chopsticks, right? Mm-hmm. That's not what, as a producer, to really learn to play the keys, your options were pretty much like, well, I mean, there were options, but for the most part, it was like take piano lessons and then disregard 60% of it.
Yeah.
Whereas we wanted to make lessons or courses that were like, there's a course on techno bass lines, there's a course on house chord progressions, there's a course on trap leads, like stuff that's actually relevant, and really put a lot of emphasis on this idea that you could do a session, you could spend 5 minutes or maybe half an hour learning something, and then go into the studio and apply that immediately.
I love that about it.
It's a bit noisy here. I hope you can still hear me all right.
Oh, no, it's fine. I know we're getting near the end of our time. And of course, super grateful and fun to talk to you. It's nice to hear all the research and the deep thinking that goes into this. And it's pretty obvious to me, in how it works when you're actually using it, that a lot of thought has gone into exactly who is the audience and how to make this useful, productive, and enjoyable. Because I think the term practice on its own is almost like, it sounds like work.
Yeah.
But I think you guys have managed to show that work is good. Work is fun when you get those results.
Yeah. I mean, if we can make it that you are putting in the work, but it's not feeling like work, then we've done it right.
Yeah, and it's like you're doing work, which is very cool. I guess is like what I'm trying to say is you did work. It's like almost like you got work without like that negative part of it. And and so much I see it at school, like learning. Kids will tell you they hate learning because they hate how they're being taught and how they're learning. Like they like to learn, but I think we like to work, we like to be productive, but a lot of our work is, these tasks we don't want to do, we don't find a lot of meaning in.
Yeah, totally.
So there's a nice connection being done here in Melodics. I guess this is like probably unfair of me to ask you since you just came out with the new keys, but are there any plans on the horizon that you can talk about, or should we just leave it at that? We're at a new spot.
I mean, there are definitely some things that we have planned. One of them is that people who know us will know that we put out lessons every week, and that's a hugely important part of it. We've built a platform for delivering lessons. And so a lot of the kind of new development will be on the content side. We're working with some really interesting artists and producers to really build that out. So I think it's just the beginning on that side. The other is, this idea I touched on earlier in the conversation of like there's kind of 3 stages, and we've got the immediate learning, the feedback, and you can learn how to play something, and then we've got this layer of, okay, we're helping you with that. Now we're helping you to get into the habit of practice. And an area that we're really wanting to develop now is every minute that you spend making that more productive. And then there are lots of, I feel like we're pretty in tune with the things that people are asking for. Nothing comes as a real surprise. It's really good. Like when people ask for things, we're like, yep, that's pretty much what we want to do as well. But what can I say? And there were, putting out a large software release is incredibly hard. And it's this horrible process that you design all the stuff, you build most of it, and then you strip bits out.
Oh yeah.
We could have worked on this easily for another year. Mm-hmm. And there comes a point where you just like, we just got to get it out to people, get them using it, get feedback, and iterate it as quickly as possible. We had some bugs and issues when it came out, but in the first week we were able to address most of that. And now we're getting into kind of adding new features. There's quite a lot that we have already planned for version 2 that will be coming out over the next few months. I talked about the new challenge system earlier. There are some things that version 1 users will notice are just like missing that were in version 1. They'll all be coming pretty quickly. So yeah, just keep adding new features, a lot of new content, and really trying to hone the actual effectiveness of it. We really want to look at the people coming in, do data analysis, and really figure out, are people actually progressing? Are they actually getting better? And then just make changes and keep an eye on that. And so how can we help more people to get better faster?
Nice. And you guys are really quick on the updates. I feel like every time I open it, I get a new update, which is cool.
Yeah, I came from a world with Serato where you'd have these big major releases like once a year or once every 2 years, and it was this huge deal, and it's just so refreshing to be like, we've made a slight improvement, let's release it. It's more like a mobile app, that kind of release cycle, rather than a version 1.7 is here.
Yeah.
Huge, drawn-out process. So we just try and iterate it, like new content, and pretty much new features or fixes every week.
Nice. And I love the artist stuff that you put out, because it scratches a lot of different itches, a lot of different genres, a lot of different styles. And it's nice to see how some people are actually doing it, and you're learning.
Yeah.
I think whether it's direct or not, there is this sort of like absorption of music production techniques that come through as you hear. I know for myself, even just with the keys, there were a couple like interesting like musical ideas and rhythms that I wasn't playing, but that was in the background. And I just, it just got me thinking, feeling inspired to make music too. So, what's better than that?
One other thing I could say is coming quite soon is that we want to do music theory by stealth. So
stealth.
Stealth.
Well, that was, I was paying attention to some of the chord progression. I was like, I wouldn't think to do that, but I like that. So
yeah, what we really set out at the beginning was like, we're not gonna make people read a lot of theory. Be like, okay, in order to play this lesson, you have to understand all the stuff. Like, just get in and do it. But then one of the things that we really want to add is like, hey, in that lesson, you did some chord inversions. Do you know what that means? Do you want to learn what that means? And then you can find out more. That was a triad. Are you interested in like these little things like, you just play it, but we show you the name of the chord that you're playing quite subtly. So over time you'll be like, oh, that's what a C minor is. Okay.
I like that. So it's a kind of choose your own destiny, if you like.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
you want to learn that stuff. Well, that's great. And I think, teaching it this way is awesome. And teaching the art of discipline too. So important.
Yeah.
And that's going to translate not just to whatever whatever drumming, electronic drumming, or keys. It's going to really translate to a lot of aspects in life. If who knows, you may be affecting people in many deeper ways than you even know.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I think it's the cool thing you guys are doing. I'm very happy that you've successfully launched the new update. For me, as a guitarist that wants to be a keys player, I'm totally excited about it. And I think the from what I'm seeing, the rumblings in the community, it seems like people are pretty stoked about it too.
Cool. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah. So we'll wrap this up. We'll say our, show goodbyes and we'll wrap it up afterwards. But this has been a talk with Sam Gribbens from Melodics, the CEO and founder. If you want to improve your finger drumming, if you want to improve your electronic drumming, or now your keyboard playing, you got to check out Melodics. It's a lot of fun, and I can speak from experience. It is effective, and I've enjoyed it much.
Cool. And so for anyone that is listening that has made it this far, then we've got a little reward. We can make a promo code that will unlock extra lessons. Nice. So I'm just going to make it up on the fly on the basis of the name of your podcast. So what's the actual full name of the podcast?
Music Production Podcast.
Okay. The promo code will be Music Production -podcast.
Cool.
And you can put that into Melodics and you'll get some extra free lessons.
That's awesome. I appreciate that little surprise at the end for me too.
I just thought of it then. You just have to remind me afterwards to actually go and set it up.
Okay. Yeah. We'll definitely do that. I'll put that in the show notes too. So when people see the episode online and on their phones, they'll be able to click on that.
Cool.
All right. Well, thanks to everyone for listening. Sam, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
And we will sign off. Take care, everybody.